Let's dive into the ETH ETF today. It's going to be a good one because we'll break down some of the things that could push ETH into a very bullish signal or maybe a reversal. We'll talk about all that good stuff. My name is Paul Vera. Welcome back into Tech Path. We've got a big poll up today, so everybody that's listening in right now, watching, make sure and participate in the poll. I want to get a really good feedback of what the audience thinks is going to happen to the Ethereum ETF as we start to go live next week. So it's coming up very fast. I do want to thank our sponsor. That's Coinbase. If you're looking at centralized exchanges and you want to get in and start your first crypto purchase, this is the place to do it. So this is for a lot of new people that are maybe just getting into crypto for the first time. Coinbase is always a great place to start. Yes, we talk about all sorts of decentralized products out there, but this is one to use as one of your primaries. So make sure and check it out. Just go to coinbase.com. You can, of course, sign up over there and get up to $200 in a crypto reward just by signing up and getting into it. All right, let's get into a few topics today. One I want to talk about, of course, is been Ethereum. And by the way, I know a lot of people in our mastermind group has been actually asking when the indicator will be available. We're like literally hours away from starting to assign this into your TradingView account. So you'll be able to get the MSI indicator on the chart. So right now, ETH trading up and still a little bit of a positive sentiment. Overall, trade MSI is still holding pretty positive at 55% as Ethereum starts to hit 34. So not bad at all right now. We'll take a look, and I think that's the big question that everybody's asking is, how's this going to play out? When you look at the other thing that could play into this is, of course, Bitcoin and MtGox. MtGox creditors now opt to hodl Bitcoin a little bit more in terms of payouts. This was a Reddit poll. I'll just highlight right here on the Reddit poll itself. You can kind of see what percentage of Bitcoins will you sell immediately. Most people looking to be in a position of holding. So, but you know, we have a handful that most likely will be taking a little bit of profits and moving on. Other things that we're kind of focused on in the article, approximately 20% of creditors basically intend to sell their Bitcoin. So we'll see. Would you guys do that? Would you sell your Bitcoin? If you're a MtGox holder out there, let us know in the comments. Just drop some over there. I'm kind of curious, how many OGs do we have out there that are watching the show? Because I don't think I would do it. I don't think I would do it. If you look at the actual MtGox wallet, here, of course, is what's happening right there. You can kind of see some of the activity that's been happening, including just over a little bit ago, we're continuing to see, 2 days ago, we saw a lot of transactions that flowed into what we think is a Kraken wallet, which is around 3 billion right there. And of course, a couple of things to consider on the Kraken scenario is this statement right here. This was done by Kraken talking about the way they're going to roll this out. So they received the funds from MtGox trustee, and they're going to do the distribution from 7 to 14 days. So this was back on the 16th of July. So figure 7 days forward of that, you'll probably start seeing funds going into that. That's going to be about, I guess, a third of what we'll see in terms of the activity. Could this push Bitcoin down, and does Ethereum follow along with it? All of this timing is very interesting, because it queues up right into what's happening with the ETH ETF as well. Other things I want to hit on right here, the site was down for 24 hours because of scam login emails. And this is a problem that I think maybe the Reddit chart or poll may not be as accurate as we think. But this is talking about users claiming they've been hit with a flurry of attempted login attacks. Dozens of users in the threads claim that they've been receiving multiple attempted login emails out of the blue. So intriguing that we could see maybe, and it also could be just a scenario because it's just in such of a huge focus in terms of a magnifying glass right now. User unsure if MtGox has bugs or hackers. We'll see. Geez, what would that do? That would be another big mess. All right, we're getting some questions in. Make sure and drop some of those over there. And if you like the live streams, let us know. Make sure and just smash the like button right now. It's a great way for us to get information from you, our partners, our community. And it really gives us insights to whether or not you like the live streams or if you like the recorded videos, which we do a lot of those as well. This is something, though, that I think a lot of people are trying to figure out is, when does the marketing begin for the ETH ETFs? One. And then how will the strategy start to roll out? Because if you look at the fees of things like, you know, Coinbase, Binance, etc., and then you look at the fees that are basically being proposed here by all of these funds, I mean, we'll all kind of zoom in on these and you can kind of see what's happening here. Starting fee, pretty much zero for most of these till at least the end of the year. And many, of course, even going into next year. So you got Van Eck coming in at 0, 0.2 after their waiver fee after 1 year. You got Bitwise coming in at 0, 6 month on their waiver fee. 21 shares coming in at 0, and even Fidelity coming in at 0 with a 0.25 until the end of the year for this year. So, but they have an unlimited amount on the waiver fee. So it'll be this could be. How would you play this? Would you trade ETH, or with these fees, would you maybe go into an ETF with an ETH purchase? I don't know. And if you did have something that's sitting on a brokerage, this is an easy flip over into, especially if it's cash, you don't have to move it. It could go right into an ETF. Grayscale, though, of course, just abusing it over and over at a 2.5% fee right now, and the post fee still sitting at 2.5. So things not being necessarily taken into consideration on what Grayscale is doing. Here's Jacob Canfield. He hits on a couple of points. ETF may not be as bullish as you think for a few months, and he's looking at why. Many of this is still kind of flowing into the Grayscale situation, meaning people might end up getting out of that situation and could cause a little bit softer launch with this. BlackRock's fees are 0.25, Van Eck still 0.25, even though that's coming down. We're seeing this now at 0. But once the unlock happens, I expect massive selling. Similar to what we saw with Bitcoin. This, of course, talking about the Grayscale unlock right there on that Ethereum trust. So there it's ETH. As you can see, we're getting into that zone where the discount isn't there. So this would be the opportunity for that to occur. Other things, of course, here's Eric Balchunas. Cheap but not sure cheap enough to move the needle. And they're talking about Grayscale here, but BlackRock, same fee to attract organic flows to offset the big unlock. Do these newborns have enough strength to offset the outflows a la Bitcoin? And I don't know. I think this is a different scenario this time around, even though it's just you look at supply and demand, you look at the framework in which ETH is really looked at by asset managers. And to an extent, I just wonder if people are going to say, no, I see ETH as an upside here, even on the Grayscale trade, and may not necessarily take advantage of it. So as he says, we'll see. A lot of questions coming in. We'll try to get to some of those in there. I do want to go to a clip because this clip will get into whether or not the ETF, performance and how it signals to investors. Because remember, that first few days is going to be pretty significant in reference to signaling to traditional asset managers. Take a look at what this analyst had to say. Let's go to that clip.
So a couple of different things. The first thing this signals, it's kind of trickle down investing strategy. So if you were to go back 12, 18, 24 months, we were talking to family offices. These are people with hundreds of millions of dollars of assets. I would say, and I'm speaking a little bit anecdotally, 100% of family offices had some crypto, right? And they're getting more serious about that over time. That's moving into the general kind of investing mainstream. So I think the first key takeaway from my colleagues over at Parthenon is there's nothing about crypto assets or tokenized assets that is a fad. Like anybody who sees that anymore, that viewpoint is out of date. I get very excited about this. The thing that people should kind of keep in mind and have a little bit of caution about is more money into crypto and blockchain is not a rising tide that lifts all boats. I believe we will see investment markets behave in relatively similar ways. And what I mean by this is Ethereum has become the dominant kind of tokenized asset and smart contract platform. I think there'll be kind of a similar effect there where the Ethereum will soak up more than 90% of all these tokenized real world assets that companies like BlackRock and others are talking about deploying.
All right, so I think that's still very bullish, in the sense of how ETH is going to be deployed in the traditional financial markets. But with that, you look at the trajectory of, because he's mentioned family offices who, at the time of the Bitcoin ETF, maybe we're just dabbling. Have they started to look at a position now from a portfolio side of rebalancing this into a mix? Think of it this way. If you said, okay, I'm going to go with 2% to 5% of crypto, just blockchain in general, and of that mix, I want to do a 50-50 Bitcoin ETH. That's the kind of impact that this could have, which could be significant going forward. The other thing that we'll hit on here, because this is a clip I want to play, that gets into where the next $1 trillion is going to be coming from, because this is a scenario that plays into this. We'll go to this clip in a second. By the way, before we get into that clip, I want to remind everybody, hit the poll, because I want to get enough votes here to really get a good read on the potential of what you guys think around the Ethereum ETF and how it might play. All right, so we just did an interview earlier today with, I would say, one of the top Fed analysts out there, and she was hitting on a couple of points, and this was in reference to the clip I'm about to play for you guys, of where the potential opportunity would come from in terms of growth. Now, I'll precursor it with that, and then I'll give you guys an insight on the backside of this. Let's go to that clip.
Is there some new wave that's going to open people tonight?
The next $10 trillion are going to be driven by clients, not by us. Attending to the interest of young investors, do-it-yourself investors, millennials who are buying ETFs for the first time.
Ether is a much smaller product in terms of assets under management than Bitcoin. What are we expecting?
So give it a 6-month run. I think we'll look at this and we'll say the ETH funds have about 10% of what's in the Bitcoin funds. If a Solana ETF comes next, I think it's going to be an even smaller allocation.
Do you have a strategy here?
Yeah, Bob, I'm a big believer in digital assets. I think that whether we like it or we hate it, we have to pay attention, because this is where the money is going, this is where investors are. But what's exciting to me is digital asset 2.0. What is the next version? And that's why we partnered with Galaxy Capital, because we think that the expertise lies with crypto natives.
What does this involve?
It's not going to be about the Bitcoin, it's not going to be about Ether, it's going to be the entire digital assets ecosystem. How do we hedge the volatility within a portfolio?
Interesting way to do this.
All right, so a lot of things to unpack there in that clip. Her look and viewpoint is that we're going to see kind of a new wave of investor. It may not necessarily fall into the primary tokens and some of the primary assets that we see in digital. But at the same time, and this is what was brought to me by the analyst today, and I'm thinking through this more now that I've listened to her talk about it, who has, decades of experience around how these markets have moved. And one of the things she mentioned was the shift from the boomer to Gen X. Boomers controlled a lot of the assets under management. That's now shifting some down to Generation X. And if you look at that in comparison, have we just transitioned more wealth into a smaller class? And they become the ones that dictate how the markets move, because that's really where the boomer has really played a huge role going forward. So if that is the case, if her analysis was correct, then she thinks that we would see less of the crypto natives and or, the millennials, Gen Z, really impacting the market just because of the difference in how much. Now, when you look at the market cap of Bitcoin, it's 2.5 times the size of ETH. This is the company that was just on the clip right here, Galaxy. And they hit on a few points here. Based on the above, we think that ETH on the spot inflows will be about 3x less than the US spot Bitcoin ETF inflows. So, okay. But we think that the Ether spot inflows could be as high as 33% of the size of the spot Bitcoin ETF inflows, with a range of around 20 to 50. This would be huge in terms of inflows. Now, the question is, where does that come from? It goes back to that point that the analysts on the Fed and the markets was talking about, which is this could be coming from an emerging class of Gen X investors that have a lot of liquid wealth to flow into something, who might be likelier to invest in Ethereum. So I know this is a lot of different positions, but I'd love to, I want your feedback too. So again, hit that poll today. We'll get into it. A couple other things in other news. Yeah, a lot more questions coming in. We'll try to get some of those for sure. Other things on other news right here, just as a reminder, the Sunshine Acts, this is changes in the meeting. This was the closed meeting scheduled for Thursday with Ripple. I'm going to zoom in on that for you guys just a little bit. Has been canceled. Now, there is speculation running wild We saw XRP dip it a little bit. I'll go to the chart in a minute. But some of the speculation is going into this right here. XRP settlement speculation is the top story. It's in the Bloomberg list right there. You can kind of see it, number 4, up right below Adam Schiff calling on Biden to quit. But settlement speculation pushes XRP to forefront of crypto rally is the question. After several pro-crypto rulings over the past 3, will the SEC versus Ripple finally get settled this summer? If that's the case, we could see a boom and also relistings for XRP, which would be huge. I think that could also be one of the things that maybe lead out some of this bullish market narrative going forward. All right, you guys got some good questions in here today. I think I've got one more clip to play. Let's go to that clip. Which one do we have here? Let's see here. Oh yeah, we've got Brad Garlinghouse. Yeah, let's go with that one because he goes into the judge ruling and watch his body language here. Take a look.
But we talk about that actually seems to now have pulled back. Maybe they got the message, but what conversations are you having with them about the structure of regulations, how they may morph and how they may change going forward?
I was actually in Washington, D.C. last Wednesday as part of a crypto roundtable hosted by Rep. Khanna, but attended by Senator Gillibrand as well as Anita Dunn from the White House. And it was, I think, the Democrats realizing that they've kind of gotten behind where the Republican Party and the Republican platform has been as relates to crypto. And so I think it was refreshing to start to have that conversation. But look, the one thing that the SEC was arguing most vociferously was this idea that XRP, the digital asset that Ripple uses in our technology, was a security. And that was really what they cared about. And what the judge ruled is that XRP is not a security. And that's really been a formative case for the industry.
So it's less about the daylight between the regulation of the two parties, and it's more just about Gary Gensler.
Well, certainly Gary Gensler, in my judgment, has been at war with crypto. That is for certain.
We only have about 30 seconds left, Brad, but I am curious here about your relationship with the SEC. Are you in settlement talks at all with the agency right now?
You know, I can't comment on that specifically. Suffice it to say that the ruling has been clear from the judge. There's one final piece, as you referenced, about these investment contracts that are sold to institutions. We expect resolution very soon, but can't predict exactly when the judge will rule there.
All right, so can't comment. I don't know if that's a positive sign or if they're running into some trouble in terms of a settlement. But there are issues out there for sure. Speaking of that, you know, some of the things that, of course, Ripple and this has all energized has been the war against the anti-crypto army. And of course, we know who leads that with Senator Warren. Here's Meta Lawman. He says he financed creation of Commonwealth Unity Fund. This is the super PAC for John Deaton for the Senate race. And, you know, he's doing it for the children, as they say. Sometimes we have to fight for freedom. Totally. Here's the breaking news right here, and that is, let me zoom in on that right there. You can kind of see the pack put together, and there's Ripple Labs now donating in to John Deaton. So great news there, I think, in support of the bigger picture here, which is this fight is definitely not over. And remember, if you're voting pro-crypto, get out in November. You need to get out there in November. Whatever candidate is good for you. But the key here is if you're like me, you're most likely a single issue voter, and that is it's all about crypto and digital assets. What else did we have here? Let's get to some questions. I want to go to the poll real quick. Do we have it up yet? All right, here we go. Let's go. We got about 400 votes in there. Looks like Ethereum ETF will launch with what percent? So everybody's saying around the 10 to 25 range. But wow, that more than 33. I'm surprised that is large. I'm in that 25 to 33% range, so I'm a little bit higher, but in the lower percentage amount for sure. We'll get to some questions. Looks like Mike says, I just can't see ETH being so dominant. The fees, still a huge problem. Maybe the ETH is, you're talking about gas fees, I'm assuming, but that's really not going to apply when it comes to the issue of the ETFs for sure. Rocker Dude says, please tell Grayscale doesn't own any ETH to get dumped on for months. Bloodsport says, I don't feel like there's any reason to care about how big the inflows are. Look how big the inflows are with Bitcoin. Yeah, it didn't change the price at all. There are some scenarios, though, I think, though, with Bitcoin. Obviously, the flow, it did change the price. Let's remember the trajectory of Bitcoin going to its all-time high I think was pretty much driven by what we saw with the Bitcoin ETFs. What the problem was is that we were dealing with is the Mt. Gox unlock, and then also the situation that we saw with nation states like Germany. Dog with Hat doing better today than other coins. I mean, listen, that's another, you're talking about a meme token, guys. So memes there's no rhyme or reason. These things get going. There's a sentiment split on something that's happening in the market, and they just fly. It's just, it is that way. And I'm looking here. I'll go with Dog with Hat. I think we have it down here. Yeah, there's WIF right here. So moving up, let's see what the sentiment looks like. One item right there, which was the Solana. Yeah, just 1,300%. Forbes best performing crypto title. Basically, like I said, small amount of move right there, and you end up with a pretty big split on that. I want to see more altcoin ETFs. Well, I think you're going to get a chance. Everyday Algonaut. Is that an Algorand guy? Is that an Algorand guy? I think it might be. Tommy says on BlackRock RWAs, I feel will go higher. C-Pool, Ondo, Proppy. Yes, I like Ondo and Proppy. And others will have good profit. Any of those real world, the RWA tokens, definitely potentials there. Crypto miners, I think, we're going to see a lot more diversification continued for sure. Will ETH ETF lead to decoupling from Bitcoin? I think this is the case, Fox Mulder, is that if we're going to see it happen, this, I think, is the event that could cause it to occur. And now in the near term or in the next 18 months, 12 months, the likelihood, that's where I think the likelihood is, especially as we start to see a new position on administration. There you go. I knew he was an Algorand guy. Especially in the administration, and also especially on the flow and how we come out of these markets, because this is still a little bit sensitive in how this market might respond, because many people still believe we're in a recession right now, and that this could get extended because of the job numbers that we're going to see. It was life-changing money. I would, of course, sell. This is John just talking about the situation with Gox holders. Real impact on ETH would potentially Grayscale outflows to high fees. That's the one that I think is a bit, it is known because we've seen it happen before, the Bitcoin ETFs, but at the same time, there was different market parameters that are in play with this. So I think it responds differently a bit. I know everybody will argue that, but it's just, when you look at all the variables in the market, the pressures, the likelihood of an interest rate cut, the situation that we're most likely going to see around, scenarios with inflation, and all of this combined into a run-up into a new administration from a political standpoint. So just very interesting stuff. Santiago, 2030 crypto market cap expectation. Oh my God, I don't give expectations. What I will tell you, it's going to be huge. I mean, we're looking at the birth of an asset class. We're looking at the birth of a technology integration into modern day finance. That's never been done before. And I don't think people really understand what this means for the future of not only just finance, but just in tech in general. There's going to be a lot of new innovation coming at us. And especially if we can get a good administration in that gets clarity on innovation, man, there's no holding it back. Invisible says, I'm waiting on more of a dip, load the toad. I like that. I would only remove 10% of my into a stable. Okay, yeah, that's good. And they're up 8,000 on Nikki's. I'm not going to say that. Invisible voices, I would not sell. All right, you guys are having some fun in the comments. I see over there quite a bit. So thanks for all the comments. We appreciate that. If you have not subscribed to this show, what are you waiting on? This is the show out there that really dives in deep. We go into an extensive amount of research for you guys. And if you're not in our community, that's another thing that you should be doing, which is our Diamond Circle. And it's very simple. You can join. It's free. We have a great community where you can, energize with other people. And we do additional content in there for you. So I do analysis on our MSI, which is our trade indicators. I do some of my own personal videos just on, themes that are happening politically, other areas of, that are out there within the markets as a business owner. And you should just join in, get in there. Make sure and follow me on X. It's very simple. You can go out to @PaulBaron. I'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.